a former member of this channel, together with a member of a so-called Shia reformist group, have tried to promote Tawalli of the Shaykhayn, i.e. Abu Bakr and Umar.
These outfits, like Bay'atul Ghadir, these are, unfortunately, youths who have been swayed by the rhetoric of the likes of Yasir al-Habib. They want to go into the sources, dig all that out without any regard for whether it's authentic, not authentic. I was not in the mood for this. I did not sign up for this. But the Imam Ja'far ordered me, so that's why I did Tawalli with the Shaykhayn, because Ahlul-Bayt cannot teach two contradictory things at the same time. They were not double-faced people. Even if you were to bring us all the Zaydi scholars after Imam Zayd, it would not affect us, because when the Imam of the Madhab himself has said, especially Imam Hussain alayhi salam, gave such a beautiful explanation. He did not whitewash history. In all of these matters, the Ahlul-Bayt were upset, they themselves said. But then later on, their displeasure became mansukh. It was abrogated by their pleasure. They would not be able to reach Imam Hussain and surround him if Hur had not forcefully dragged the army of Imam Hussain to Karbala. And they argue, well, the reason why we disassociate and we curse is because Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi is responsible for bringing Imam Hussain to Karbala. What greater zulm? When Hur was dragging the army of Imam Hussain and pulling them towards Karbala, at that time Imam Hussain was upset or happy? That we are also not satisfied and convinced by the evidence that has been brought forward against us. They want us to abandon the testimony of insiders and accept the testimony of outsiders. Yeah, please. You bring us testimony from these, authentic testimony, we will change our stance. But you can't. Yeah, you buy the taqiyya narrative, mubarak to you, this narrative. This is not the last you'll be hearing from us, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits, on this issue. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. My respected elders, my dearest youngsters, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It has been brought to our attention by some of our viewership that Bay'atul Ghadir have done a response. They have attempted to refute a session or an episode that we had done as part of this year's Fatimiyya series on the stance of the Ahlul-Bayt, alayhim afdalu salatu wassalam, vis-a-vis the Shaykhayn. And so they have tried to refute and respond to the evidence that we presented. So we've been asked to issue a clarification and a response. Our response is that our aim in these discussions is not polemics. People are confusing it for polemics, but actually we are not motivated by any polemical concerns, the way these groups and these outfits are. Nor are we interested in debating people like these who don't have any vision for the ummah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except to dig up whatever worst elements they can find in the sources, whatever will create and guarantee division and disunity and discord and fitna. They want to go into the sources, dig all that out without any regard for whether it's authentic, not authentic, without applying any critical Rijali standards. These people, they follow an approach very similar to that of the Akhbaris. In fact, some of the insiders, they say that these are actually at their core, and their main Sayyid is actually an Akhbari, or he claims to be so. So Akhbaris, obviously, if you want to see our stance on the Akhbaris and our critique of their methodologies, you can go back to the earliest lectures on the channel. You will see that we have responded to neo-Akhbaris, and we have shown how the whole Akhbari manhaj is fundamentally flawed. So even in this case, our goal in issuing this brief response is not to engage the Bay'atul Ghadir people, but rather to provide further clarification to the truth seekers so that they are not confused by these kinds of tactics that have been adopted by such outfits. Our goal in that episode was to showcase authentic evidence of the imams of Ahlul-Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam and their public statements in which they lay out their stance for the entire world to see. So we are providing this evidence for those who are actually looking for the truth or are already on the path of reform. Those people who have already taken an oath that we like to be part of a hate-filled cult that is only interested in reviling and vilifying the icons of the ummah, in manifest defiance to the guidance that was given to us by not just the imams of Ahlul-Bayt alayhimus salam, but by also some of the greatest and grandest traditional Shia maraja from the Hawzat of Najaf and Qum, who have issued fatwas, as has Ayatollah Sayyida Ali al-Hussaini al-Khamenei and Ayatollah Sayyida Ali al-Hussaini Sistani. They have issued very clear fatwas saying that the icons of the Ummah are not supposed to be reviled or vilified. You're not supposed to badmouth them. You're not supposed to speak disrespectfully about them. And you're not supposed to make insulting and offensive comments about them. So these people obviously don't see the Marji'iyya, whatever you say about it, the Marji'iyya does care about the Ummah up to a certain extent. That's why you see them talking about the necessity of unity, about uniformity, not insulting, not using offensive and abusive language, because they care about the Ummah. They want there to be peace between the Shia and Sunni, peaceful coexistence. You know, in many of the countries in Iraq, in Kuwait, in the UAE, you have perfect peaceful coexistence between the Sunnis and Shias, and both sides expect the other side to respect and revere their icons. These outfits, like Bay'atul Ghadir, these are, you know, unfortunately, youths who have been swayed by the rhetoric of the likes of Yasser al-Habib and these other deviant ideologues. And so they don't have a vision for peaceful coexistence between the Shia and Sunni. They don't care about the Ummah, unity, brotherhood, love and respect among the two sects. They're perfectly happy to stir fitna and discord in the Ummah. So that's their choice. We cannot compel them to abandon the path that they've chosen for themselves, but we refuse to engage with such people who don't have a respectable vision for the Ummah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and whose only goal is to stir hatred and enmity in the Ummah. We see no point in engaging such people. We are happy to engage with learned, respected scholars who do care about the Ummah and who do care about the school of Ahlul-Bayt and its image and the teachings of Ahlul-Bayt and the stance of Ahlul-Bayt. So in any case, our goal was to provide evidence for those who are actually looking for the truth, not those who have already made up their minds and are determined to remain committed to whatever the ghulat transmitted in the name of the Ahlul-Bayt alayhi salam. Now, we understand that even after watching our evidence-based presentation, not all people will be satisfied or convinced by the evidence that we present and by the reading of history that we have, and that's fine. Ultimately, you are supposed to and you are bound to accept only what you are prepared to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. And so, as far as we are concerned, we are presenting what we will confidently and proudly meet Allah, His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the imams of Ahlul-Bayt with on the Day of Judgment. We are happy to meet them on the Day of Judgment with this, exactly as our grandfather, Al-Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, said in that authentic narration of Rijalul Kashi, which has been authenticated by Ayatollah Shaykh Muhammad Asad Muhsini as per the manhaj of Sayyid al-Khui. It's also authentic as per the manhaj of Ayatollah Sayyidi Sistani, where that lady, Khalid, asks Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, are you ready for me to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell him, أقول إن جعفر ibn Muhammad أمرني بولايتهما. Are you prepared for this? I will meet Allah on the Day of Judgment when I will be presented for Hisab, and I will say, this Imam Ja'far alayhi salam ordered me. I was not in the mood for this. I did not sign up for this. But the Imam Ja'far ordered me, so that's why I did tawalli with the Shaykhayn, with the Shaykh Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Because the Imam said, you do tawalli and taraddi. And the Imam said, yes, I am prepared to take responsibility for this. Khalas, when my Imam is ready to take responsibility for wilaya with the Shaykhayn, for me that's game over. That's the end of the story for me, end of discussion. You, Maulana, you are not convinced by this. You want to go by other narrations, which if we go into the chains and the Rijal, even those that they're claiming that are Sahih, we can easily expose where these narrations came from. After you have isolated the authentic stance of the Ahlul-Bayt, whatever contradicts it, you can, even without looking at the chains, you know it must be false, because the Ahlul-Bayt cannot teach two contradictory things at the same time. They were not double-faced people. They were not liars. Wal-iyadhu billah. This is Imam Sadiq, not wal-iyadhu billah kadhib or kadhab. Kadhib and kadhab are the people in the chains. The Imam is Sadiq. The whole ummah is agreed on this. The narrators who narrated the Tabarri narrative, they are the ones who are the kadhabin, the kadhibin, the liars. So in any case, we are confident to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. With this research and with this stance, this is what we practice and this is what we believe in, this is what we promote. And if Allah questions us about this on the Day of Judgment, we will say, we will stand behind our master and our Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, and our master and an Imam, As-Sibt, Al-Shaheed, Abu Abdullah al-Hussain ibn Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. We have his public letter to the people of Basra, which is authenticated by 12 scholars as well. They say, yeah, the letter is authentic because people are trying to say from Tabari. Baba, this is from Abu Mikhnaf. Tabari is a Sunni source. We're taking it from Abu Mikhnaf. And yes, Imam al-Tabari preserved the transmissions of Abu Mikhnaf, but he's not the primary source for them. Primary source is Abu Mikhnaf. Al-Tabari is a secondary source who is preserving what the primary source has transmitted. And Abu Mikhnaf is a Shia. Sunnis have issues with him. That's their problem. For us, he's one of our Salaf. He's one of the early Shia. And so he's our Salaf. And we take from him, again, not blindly, but what he transmits that agrees with all the other Qara'in that we have. Why should we reject it? And especially the letter of Basra was a public document that cannot be forged. It has been authenticated by 12 scholars. So the stance of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam is clear. Imam Zayd alayhi salam's stance, which we presented, is also very clear. You can bring us all the Zayd, even if you were to bring us all the Zaydi scholars after Imam Zayd, it would not affect us, because when the Imam of the madhab himself has said that we do tawalli with Shaykhayn and we do not say anything about them except that which is khair and that which is good, then khalas, I don't care what the rest of the latecomers. Our Shi'ism is all about early. It's the later Shi'ism is corrupted, both on the side of the Zaydis as well as on the side of the 12ers. So we're not interested in later opinions. We're interested in what the Master himself said. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, Al-Imam Abu Abdullah al-Hussain as-Sibt al-Shaheed bi Karbala alayhi salatu wassalam, his grandson Imam Zayd alayhi salam, his other grandson Al-Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salam. These are sufficient for us as authorities to stand behind on the Day of Judgment and to say, Ya Allah, we only followed them in their stance, and we also did not blindly follow. They gave us reasons. Especially Imam Hussain alayhi salam gave such a beautiful explanation. He did not whitewash history. If he had whitewashed history, even we would have second thoughts. Like, this narrative of Imam Hussain, I don't know what he's talking about, man. He's falsifying known history. But no, Imam Hussain alayhi salam did not falsify history. He gave us the story as it is. And what did he mention in that story? Very clearly he mentioned that yes, and we ourselves accept his narrative that there was ikhtilaf in the beginning. There was a disagreement. There was difference of opinion. In the beginning, not only Sayyida Fatima salamullahi alayha, but also the rest of the Ahlul-Bayt. Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. They were all upset. They were all displeased with how things happened in Saqifa, with how things happened in the Fadak dispute, with how things happened in the matter of the dispute concerning the inheritance, in the matter of the dispute concerning the spoils of war. In all of these matters, the Ahlul-Bayt were upset, they themselves said. But then later on, their displeasure became mansukh, it was abrogated by their pleasure. So khalas. This is just like Shia, for example. Wal-'iyadhu billah, a deviant group emerges among the Shia and they start cursing. Wal-'iyadhu billah, they start cursing and disassociating from Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. And they argue, well, the reason why we disassociate and we curse is because Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi is responsible for bringing Imam Hussain to Karbala. What greater zulm! Yazid's army would not have been able to besiege Imam al-Hussain. They would not be able to reach Imam al-Hussain and surround him if Hurr had not forcefully dragged the army of Imam Hussain to Karbala. So Hurr is responsible, and therefore we disassociate. What disassociate? Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam said to him to his face, Na'am, when he came to Imam al-Hussain, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, and he said, Inni ta'ibun fahal tara li min tawbah. Again, this is narrated by Abu Mikhnaf. So if you are going to falsify the narrations of Abu Mikhnaf, then you will also have to curse Al-Hur, because Abu Mikhnaf is the reason why we don't curse Al-Hur. Because Abu Mikhnaf tells us, Hur came, he apologized to Imam al-Hussain. Imam al-Hussain said, Na'am yatubullahu alayk. So yes, Allah will accept you, Allah will forgive you. And then on top of that, he lavished praise on him. He said, Antal hurru kama sammatka ummuk. You are the truly free and liberated soul, the way your mother named you. Antal hurru fi dunya was sa'id fil akhirah. You are free in this dunya, and you shall be of the happy ones and the prosperous ones on the day of judgment. So when when Hur was dragging the army of Imam Hussain and pulling them towards Karbala, at that time Imam Hussain was upset or happy? He was upset. He even said, Sakalatka ummuka. He said, may your mother cry and grieve for your death. So obviously Imam Hussain was not happy when he said this. But later on, Imam Hussain alayhi salam issues words, glowing accolades and words of praise. So now, which stance of Imam al-Hussain are you going to follow? You, the Shia. Will you say that, no, there was a point in history when my Imam was very angry with Hur, and he said to him, Thakalatka ummuka. So I'm just going to repeat this line until the day of judgment. Ma'qul hada? Does this make sense to you? No. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam changed his stance. Before, he was displeased with Hur, and for the entire duration we are with Imam Hussain. Even though I'm named al-Hur, but I side with Imam al-Hussain until al-Hur reaches Karbala. We are with Imam Hussain against al-Hur. The moment al-Hur switched over to the side of Imam Hussain, we are with Hur and Imam Hussain, and we now name our children after him. So high is his station. Same thing over here, as far as Abu Bakr and Umar are concerned. The Ahlul-Bayt have been upfront. They have not hidden history from you. They have not whitewashed. They have not done taqiyya. Imam Hussain clearly says we were upset because we believed we were more entitled and qualified to succeed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we still maintain that we were, even after all that happened, we still maintain we were more qualified. But they didn't choose us. They didn't elect us. No problem. There's no point being sore losers. We now need to work on reviving the ummah, on uniting the ummah. And that unity and that peace and peaceful coexistence can only come by burying the hatchet, by burying all our differences and past, disunity. Let us unite now. And so for that purpose, Imam Hussain alayhi salam and the entire Ahlul-Bayt, they made peace with the Shaykhayn. And just like in the case of Hur, today we name our children after Hur. Look at the imams of Ahlul-Bayt. Abu Bakr ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu Bakr ibn al-Hasan, Umar ibn Ali ibn al-Hussain, Aisha bint Ja'far al-Sadiq, Aisha bint Musa al-Kadhim. These are all children of imams. The imams named children after them to show you that this dispute was not personal and the hatchet has been buried. Don't pursue and don't go after these personalities anymore. We have made peace with them. And as Shia, your wadhifa, your job is silmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. You make peace with those who made peace with your imams, and you declare war on those who declared war on your imams. Muawiyah, for example, never made peace with Imam Ali alayhi salam. And even when he signed the peace treaty with Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, he violated it big time. And so that's why he's fair game. You will never see us come out in defense of a vile and wicked character like Muawiyah. But those that the Ahlul-Bayt actually did make peace with, we make peace with them as well. And we are prepared to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this. You want to follow transmissions of Ghulat, you want to deviate from the vision, the lofty vision of Ahlul-Bayt, you will be responsible for it on the Day of Judgment. And obviously the people who are trying to respond to us, they have no vision for this ummah. They don't care about the ummah. Let the ummah burn as far as they're concerned. They're so full of hate and opposition towards the ummah. Well, that's their choice. That's their bed. They've made it. They will sleep in it. But as far as we are concerned, we understand that, and we will cut you some slack if you're not satisfied with the evidence and reading of history that we have presented. But we would also want you to respect that we are also not satisfied and convinced by the evidence that has been brought forward against us. Even the other riwayat that they brought about Bibi Fatima being angry when she died, these riwayat, we ask, from where are they getting them? Are they getting these riwayat from people inside the house? Ahlul-Bayt adra bima fil bayt. The Ahlul-Bayt know best what's inside the house. They're bringing us so-called sahih narrations, authentic narrations of who? Abu Huraira. Maulana Abu Huraira is Ahlul-Bayt. We don't accept testimony of Abu Huraira. If Abu Huraira, for us, is not a reliable transmitter in everything that he transmits. Some of what he transmits, we have confirmation from other sources, so we accept. But some of what he transmits is actually discredited by the Ahlul-Bayt, and so we don't accept that. So if the transmission of Abu Huraira clashes with the transmission of Imam Hussain, eyes closed, we will accept Imam Hussein's transmission. He is Ahlul-Bayt. He is at the source of the fountainhead of Risala. So of course, we will take his word or any other word any day of the week. So they're bringing us narrations of outsiders, and they expect us to abandon the narrations of the insider Ahlul Bayt, like Imam al-Hussain, like Imam Sayyida alayhi salam, like Imam Ja'far alayhi salam, who are privy to all the transactions and correspondences of the Ahlul Bayt and all their dealings and interactions. They want us to abandon the testimony of insiders and accept the testimony of outsiders. Yeah, please, you accept the testimony of outsiders, but then don't call yourself Shia. Call yourself Shia of Abu Huraira then. If you want to be Shia of al-Sadiq alayhi salam and al-Bakr alayhi salam and al-Hussain alayhi salam, then follow what they say in their public statements, which are recorded in both Shia and Sunni books. Number one. Number two, the evidence that they've presented, it's all zanni. Even this narration that they're trying to authenticate from Abu Huraira, as we mentioned, Sayyida Aisha is behind this idea that she testifies, or she claims that as per her knowledge, Bibi Fatima remained angry or upset until the end. But Bibi Aisha is an outsider as far as the house of Fatima is concerned. She's an insider to the house of the Prophet, but outsider to the house of Fatima. House of Fatima, salamullahi alayha, the insiders are Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayha, Sayyida Kulthum salamullahi alayha. You bring us testimony from these, authentic testimony, we will change our stance. But you can't, because the authentic testimonies of these personalities we already presented, and they were all pro-Shaykhayn. They were all in favor of burying the hatchet, of solving the dispute, putting it behind, and letting bygones be bygones, so that the ummah doesn't self-destruct and doesn't burn up with fitna. Okay, so they let it go, and that's what we do. We let go of these kinds of things. We don't try to develop a hate-based cult around this whole issue. That's what distinguishes us from those who prefer to follow ghulu transmissions on this issue. So in any case, all the evidence that they're presenting is zanni. And Sayyida Aisha's transmission, Umm-al-Mu'mineen Aisha's transmission of Sayyida Fatima dying angry, yeah, as we mentioned, this could be a conjecture, this is her speculation, this is her assumption, which could be entirely false, especially since it's not borne out by the transmissions of the Ahlul-Bayt alayhi salam. And news of this could have spread to people like Abu Huraira. And Abu Huraira is known to transmit reports of other companions without taking their name. But this is something we can prove, inshallah, when we go into detail back, right? The other thing to highlight is that in that video that they did, these Bayatul Ghadir guys, they contradicted themselves. In one set of reports, they said that Bibi Fatima salamullahi alayha said that, by Allah, I will never speak to you both again. He said to Abu Bakr and Umar, I will never speak to you again, in one set of reports. And in the other Sahih riwayat, so-called Sahih riwayat, which they quoted, it says they came to her house in the end and she did speak to them. So Sayyida Fatima, now they say she did speak to them, but she didn't forgive them. So the claim that she never spoke to them is incorrect then. Or is it that Bibi Fatima salamullahi alayha contradicted herself and broke her oath and her promise? Because in one set of narrations, they're showing us that she promised. She said, by Allah, she swore by Allah that I will never speak to you again. So this is an oath. And then in the other set of narrations, they are saying, no, she actually did speak to them, but she didn't forgive them. So she broke her oath. Is Sayyida Fatima salamullahi alayha the kind of person, does she strike you as the kind of mu'mina and as the kind of Sayyida who would break her oath? When Allah in the Quran instructs the believers very firmly, وَاحْفَظُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ. Either don't take an oath, or if you take an oath, then وَاحْفَظُوا, protect and preserve your oaths. As Allah says in Surah 5 of the Quran, verse 89. So the point is, all of the evidence that they're bringing is self-contradictory. It is zanni. We ourselves accept that, yes, initially, there is evidence that there was ikhtilaf. Ahlul-Bayt were upset. However, we follow the stance of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Imam Zayd alayhi salam, Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam. And we don't care what the rest of the world says after that. These are our sadati wa mawaliya. The rest of the world, whatever they say, Mubarak to them, their opinion. We don't care what later sectarian Zaydi scholars or later latecomers from the Zaydi Aimma, what they say, that doesn't matter. We are concerned about the early Ahlul-Bayt. They are our hujjah in these matters, in these political, historical matters. We prefer to go with their reading. So we follow their stance, and you shouldn't have a problem with that, ultimately. If you're a true Shia, you shouldn't have a problem with someone following what is well-established and documented stance of the Ahlul-Bayt alayhi salam. So in any case, if you guys are hoping that we do a debate or we do a direct response to these guys, that is not going to happen. It should be clear to you that our paradigms are fundamentally different. These people like to follow a very lax and lousy akhbari sort of methodology. Even the riwayat that they're authenticating are not really authentic if you examine them under the microscope of critical rijal. These people are completely out of their depth when it comes to rijal and knowledge of the transmissions. So apart from that, they are more committed to the sectarian views and stances and positions. We are not concerned about sectarian. We are concerned about haqq. And haqq, as the Ahlul-Bayt promulgated it and promoted it and preached it. Okay? So we are not bound by sectarian mawqifs. Even if the entire Zaydiyya sect had ijma, which they don't have ijma, by the way. They have a lot of diversity when it comes to Shaykhayn. But even if the entire Zaydiyya and the entire Shia al-Imamiyya and the entire Bukhara and the entire Ismailis, and throw in the Sunnis as well. If the Sunnis, Shia, Ismaili, Bukhara, Salafi, Wahhabis, the whole Ummah were to develop ijma on doing tabarri with the Shaykhayn, but we had flawlessly authentic transmissions from the Ahlul-Bayt that give us certainty that their stance was tawalli with the Shaykhayn, we would defy the entire Ummah and have tawalli with the Shaykhayn. And you would not be able to convince us with any argument, including the disunity argument. If you came to us and said the whole Ummah is united on tabarri of the Shaykhayn, the whole Ummah, so in order to have unity with them, you should also do tabarri. We would say we welcome unity and we 100% believe in unity, but not the kind of unity that makes us disloyal to the immediate family of the Prophet. Our first loyalty is to them, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam praised this family and he left such high recommendations in their favor. He mentioned so many of their fadail, especially our master Amirul Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, that the scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who have no grounds and who have no incentive to come up with something like this from thin air, they're saying this on the basis of evidence. The teachers of Imam al-Bukhari and like Shaykh Ishaq bin Rahuya and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the Imam of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah in his time, he says, لم يرد لأحد من صحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من الفضائل بالأسانيد الصحاح الجياد ما ورد لأمير المؤمنين علي ibn Abi Talib. He says there is no personality from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for whom we have received so many fadail, ahadith of fadail, and excellences and virtues and superiority and merits. There is no personality for whom we have received so many hadiths with such flawlessly authentic chains as we have received for Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib. So these are the personalities whom we follow after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is why our paradigm is different from the paradigm of these people who are slaves to the sect that they follow. and especially to later sectarian developments. Our aim is not loyalty with the sect. Our aim is al-haqqu ahaqqu an yuttaba. As Ayatollah al-Uzma al-Allama al-Shaykh al-Muhaqqiq al-Tustari says. He says, don't follow the sect when the sect clashes the haqq with the haqq. You follow the haqq that's come to you from Ahlul-Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. So our approach is different. We do not believe in the taqiyya approach or taqiyya narrative that these people promote, which makes liars out of Ahlul-Bayt, which turns the pure and pious household of the Holy Prophet into double-faced hypocritical liars who say one thing in public and the complete opposite in private to deceive and fool and mislead people. Yeah, this is not the Ahlul-Bayt we believe in. This is the Ahlul-Bayt invented by the Ghulat. This is a fantasy-based picture invented by the Ghulat to dilute all of the narrations of Ahlul-Bayt which go against their deviant ideology. So whenever any narration of Ahlul-Bayt which is pro-unity in the Ummah is brought, the Ghulat would come forward and say, oh yeah, the Imams just said that in Taqiyya. Yeah, you buy the Taqiyya narrative, Mubarak to you, this narrative. We accept that our Imams were people of Taqwa, not people of Taqiyya. They were not scaredy cats, and they were fearless descendants of Haydar Karrar, Fatih Khaybar, for whom the Holy Prophet testified, La yakhafu fillahi lawmata laim. This is an Imam who does not fear anyone in the matter of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we follow him and we follow his stance. And if he had an issue, and if he was pro-Tabarri with Shaykhayn, he would have made that publicly known. He would not hide his opinion, just as he did not hide in the case of Uthman. Openly in his letter to Muawiyah, he says, yes, Amma Uthman, فَلَسْتُ أُخْفِيكَ أَنِّي كُنْتُ أَنْقِمُ مِنْهُ أَشْيَاء. He says, yeah, as far as Uthman is concerned, O Muawiyah, I will not hide from you that I had serious issues with him. I had grievances against him. He violated matters of the Quran and Sunnah, so I had issues with him. طيب, if Imam Ali alayhi salam had issues with Uthman, grievances against Uthman, he could have also said the same for Shaykhayn, but he doesn't. Why? Because they had patched up, they had made peace. It's like Al-Hur and Imam Hussain, after they made peace, would you expect Imam Hussain to say, yeah, but I still have grievances against Hur because he brought me to Karbala? Yeah, even if he brought you to Karbala, but you forgave him, right? And that's why in Ziyarah you send salam on Al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. So khair. And we're not comparing Al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi to the Shaykhayn, but I'm just saying that when the stance of your Imam changes, your stance is also supposed to change. Simple as that. So as far as our mawqif is concerned, we don't believe in the taqiyya narrative. We don't believe your supposedly thiqa narrators when they attribute this kind of taqiyya to the Imams. In fact, these are cases where the thiqat are actually lying, we believe. And we take the public testimonies of the Imams as the correct opinions of the Imams, because we believe Imams were there to guide people, not to misguide people, not to confuse people. It was not that they were teaching one thing in public and secretly teaching their real opinion to a very few select people whom they later on also cursed and disassociated from Maulana, if you go in the books of Rijal. So at the end of the day, that's basically, in as briefly as I can manage, to give you preliminary responses. Inshallah ta'ala, this is not the last you will be hearing from us, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits, on this issue. We will have more episodes. We will share with you. There's so much evidence that has been hidden from our public. And inshallah, we'll bring more of it if there is interest in this topic. Next year's Fatimiyya, inshallah. And also before that, if we have a lot of topics to discuss, which are very important. So I cannot guarantee when exactly we will be able to get to this and when we will be able to have a detailed episode on this. But inshallah, it is definitely there in the pipeline. The evidence is there. And we are happy to go through however much of it we can to benefit those who are sincerely open to accepting the truth and who are sincerely desirous of aligning their stance and their reading of history with that of the Imams of Ahlul-Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. And those who are not, we say to them, wassalamu ala man ittaba al-huda. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.